Hello friends, myself Dr. Sonal Chhabra, and today we are going to discuss about elementary education initiatives in developing countries. We all know the government has been acknowledging the importance of elementary education, and it's just not the case of India, even in other countries. In all the countries, the importance of elementary education has been well accepted. There has been the World Declaration on Education for All. There has been the framework for action to meet the basic learning needs. There has been the E9 Declaration for Education for All and of course the 40-year-old Universal Declaration of Human Rights. These all aimed at giving prominence to elementary education. However, still the universal access to elementary education has not been achieved in many parts of the world. Now these many parts of the world are specifically the developing countries, and different states, different governments have been working in this direction so as to improve the status of elementary education in these countries. Now let us just understand what is the status of elementary education in developing countries. About 75 million children, of which more than half of them girls in the world, have no opportunity to attend the primary schools. 1 in 3 children in Africa that are enrolled in school drop out of the primary school for educationally disadvantaged groups. 4 out of 5 children who do not go to school live in rural regions. Now one reflects on these statistics and gets a glaring picture of the kind of elementary education which is prevalent throughout the world. So the status is appreciative in certain countries, but when it comes to the developing countries, the figures are not very promising. There are different barriers in elementary education in developing countries. Number 1, inadequate budgets. The budgets which these countries have for the education sector and primarily for the primary education is not sufficient enough so that the schools reach to all the children. Secondly, there is a lack of schools and the teaching staff. Now this flows from the first barrier of having an inadequate budget. Then there are other factors also associated, like the cost of attending schools. The parents, the families do not have that kind of resources, they do not have that kind of money which they can spend on education. So the cost of attending school is pretty high, and that becomes another reason for making the children not attend the schools. Then there is another reason of high illiteracy rates among these countries. It's said that almost 98% of the people who are not literate are living in the underdeveloped countries or the developing countries. Now one has an understanding of the barriers. If one has an understanding of the barriers, one can definitely move in the direction to improve these obstacles, to work on these obstacles and work for the betterment of the education in these countries. There are several international organizations which are working for universalization of elementary education. For universalization of elementary education and further to achieve the goal of education, there are different agencies which are functioning all over the world. You can see in the slide, there are World Bank, there is UNFPA, there is UNICEF, UNDP, DPEC, Asian Bank, USAID, DFID, UNESCO, NORAD, SIDA, SIDA, SDC and several others. Now we cannot discuss all of them here, but we are going to discuss few of them here so that we understand how these organizations or different banks are working in this direction so as to provide elementary education to all the children across the world, barring whether they are belonging to the developing countries or whether they are belonging to the developed countries. So let's just start with the first institution, which is the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. Popularly known as UNESCO, it was established in the year 1949 and it's primarily an inter-government organization. So it's not working solely, but it's working allied with the government. The purpose of UNESCO was to further the cause of peace by increasing understanding among the nations through education. So they are working on the peace, but how to achieve that peace? It is through education. Now UNESCO considers learning as important for the economic development and for the peace. So the basic idea is economic development and peace, but UNESCO has well realized it that these can be achieved only if you can promote education among all. So if education is going to reach to all the people, the economic development of the nation is going to be better, the peace is going to be better. There are 5 core areas of UNESCO. Number 1, to integrate education for all fully in all the program activities of UNESCO. This concerns education specifically, but also other intersectoral activities which are related to culture, communication, information and the sciences. So, the primary focus is education, but they are working it through different sectors also. Secondly, to support countries in the implementation of education for all, for example, in the formulation of education policies that caters to the excluded groups. So, UNESCO is focusing on all. So, it is focusing on education for all and it is trying to support different countries in implementing these kind of programs. Thirdly, to develop regional mechanisms for capacity building and exchange between the countries. It has been well realized that there needs to be certain kind of capacity building between the countries. There needs to be certain kind of exchange of experiences between the countries. Now, these can happen if there is some organization which is aiding the both. Next, to champion more efficient use of resources and increased investment in basic education. Another one is to sustain the education for all momentum at the global level through education for all advocacy at international meetings. So, if one goes through all these core areas, the 5 core areas, one realizes it well that the focus of UNESCO is education for all. Be it through the government, be it through the international meetings, be it through the advocacy, be it through increasing the capacity building programs. So, one can understand how UNESCO works, what are the core areas of UNESCO. Now, let us move further and understand how UNESCO supports all these core areas or how UNESCO supports the different countries which are taking the aid from UNESCO. Number 1, UNESCO helps young independent countries by providing material and human resources for educational development. So, one way in which UNESCO is helping the other countries is they are providing both human resources and material resources, but the focus is on educational development. Secondly, it helps countries in their efforts to improve education at all levels. Though they are saying primary education, but their focus is on that education should be improved at all the levels. Thirdly, the agency sponsors the programmers to train the teachers, build the courses of study. Now, if you realize how agency is supporting or how UNESCO is supporting different countries, it is flowing from the 5 core areas which we have discussed earlier. Now, one can see that they are sponsoring programs to train the teachers. Ultimately, it is the teacher who is going to be the one who is going to impart the education to the children. So, the agency sponsors the programs to train the teachers, build courses of study. Further, UNESCO promotes activities concerned to education for all. So, be it any kind of activities, whether it is a promotional activity, whether it is an advocacy activity, whether it is related to some kind of funding, UNESCO is always promoting activities which are concerned with education for all. Further, UNESCO engages in the process of organizing international conferences and then which leads to eventually development of various documents which are in support of the EFM movement and has also set up an electronic news bulletin board specifically for the purpose of information sharing on education for all. Now, this portal provides regular updates on important events and achievements. Now, how this helps is the countries are able to see the stats, the countries are able to see the programs on the portal and they are able to share their own experiences with each other and learn from the experiences of other people also. Moving further, we are done with how UNESCO is working. Let us move to another international organization, United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund, popularly known as UNICEF. Now, UNICEF aids in almost 150 countries by assisting the governments in such areas as health, care, nutrition, water supply and education, etc. Again, if you see, UNICEF is not working only in the sector of education, it is working in different areas. It is working for healthcare, it is working for nutrition, it is working for water supply and also education. UNICEF works to promote the rights of every child regarding health, nutrition and education and freedom of expression. Now, why we need to understand is that all these factors are related to each other. If the child is not getting proper nutrition, or if the child doesn't has an adequate water supply, definitely it's going to impact the kind of education the child is going to have. If the child doesn't has the freedom of expression in the school, if the child is being discriminated on certain grounds, it impacts the kind of education or the meaning of education which the child is going to have for himself. So, UNESCO helps the child in ensuring that they get health, nutrition, education and freedom of expression. Moving further, UNICEF works tirelessly to ensure that every child, which means every child, regardless of gender, ethnicity, socio-economic background or circumstances. So, they are debarring all these things, whether it is gender, ethnicity, socio-economic background or circumstances. All the children should have an access to a quality education. So, it is not just education, but it really implies a quality education. So, the idea is not to just make education available to all the children, but the kind of education which is made available to all the children should be one of good quality, which is catering to the needs of the child and which is leading to fulfillment of the objectives of the child when it comes to seeking education. Moving further, it focuses on gender equality and working towards eliminating disparities of all kinds. Like earlier mentioned, UNICEF is not just working on education, it is working on other areas also, like one of them was freedom of expression. So, for ensuring such kind of things, you need to have gender equality, you need to have elimination of all kinds of disparities, whether it is money related or religion related or caste related. So, UNICEF is working in this direction also. Its innovative programs and initiatives target the world's most disadvantaged children, the excluded, the vulnerable and the invisible. So, UNICEF knows and UNICEF appreciates the fact that regular children will get education or something of the formal education kinds in different setups, but we need to focus on the disadvantaged children. Now, what are these disadvantaged children? These are the ones who are excluded, the ones who are vulnerable, the ones who are invisible. They may be in the form of migrant children, they may be in the form of child laborers, they may be in the form of children who are living in geographically spatially located areas. So, UNICEF has a focus that every child should get good quality education. UNICEF works with a broad range of local, national and international partners to realize the educational and gender equality goals established in the Millennium Development Goals and Education for All plan. So, one needs to understand that they are not working solely on their own, they have a broad range of local, national as well as international partners. Now, when you have partners of all these kinds who are working at the local level, who are working at a national level and who are working at an international level, it gives you a wide expanse of the same, which the UNICEF has been having, and it is aiding in better provision of supplies to the children. UNICEF brings essential structural changes that are necessary to achieve social justice and equality for all. UNICEF laid the foundation for growth, transformation, innovation, opportunity and equality. To sum it up, how UNICEF is working, whether in times of crisis or periods of peace, in cities or remote villages, UNICEF is committed to realizing a fundamental non-negotiable goal, which is quality education for all. So, the focus is not just providing education, but providing a quality education for all. Moving further, we have discussed UNICEF, we have discussed UNESCO. Let's move further. We are going to discuss now how the World Bank supports this initiative. Now, the World Bank supports the education for all for accelerating the progress towards quality, universal primary education and other educational for all goals. The bank supports EFA through specific operations in almost 90 countries worldwide. So, they have a good wide expand basis which is covering almost 90 countries. Now, how they are doing is, they are doing through multi-dimensional efforts, and the focus is 1. To improve the primary school access and equity as well as educational quality and learning output. Let us just understand this, improving the primary school access and equity as well as educational quality and learning output. So, the focus is on accessibility, the focus is on quality, the focus is on learning output and the focus is on equity. So, catering to all kinds of children and having a focus on quality also. Moving further, they intend to improve the dropout and retention rates of the girls as well as their learning outcomes. So, the focus is specifically on the girls also, because girls is a category of the child population which is the disadvantaged group across the developing countries. I won't say that it is the same for all the developing countries, but many of the developing countries are struggling to provide equal educational opportunities to the girl child. The World Bank helps to provide education to HIV affected pupils also. Now, this is another section of the population which may be disadvantaged, which may be ostracized in certain kinds of setup. So, World Bank is specifically working for these children also. Further, World Bank promotes early childhood development. World Bank protects EFA prospects in different countries. So, one realizes that if they are working in 90 countries, you are making a huge impact in terms of the programs which you are developing for different countries. World Bank helps to mobilize resources needed to achieve education for all goals. The World Bank also supports education for all efforts through analytic work and the sharing of global knowledge and good practice. So, one can see here also there is this understanding that if we share the global knowledge, if we share our good practices among the different countries, we are going to gain from each other. We are not going to make the same mistakes which they are making, and we may be making better progress in the same direction. Done with the World Bank, let us move further. Now, we are going to discuss how the Department for International Development or DFID works for providing elementary education. DFID is a part of the UK government that works in partnership with developing countries to promote development and reduce extreme poverty. Now, how DFID differs from the other three which we discussed was they all three were working on an international platform, or they were comprising of different setups, but DFID is a part of UK government. So, the UK government is making efforts to provide or to make partnerships with developing countries to promote development and reduce extreme poverty in different countries. It supports countries to reach the Millennium Development Goals, the international targets agreed by the United Nations to halve the world poverty by 2015. We have already crossed that, we have been working in that direction, some progress has been made, but there is a long road to go. DFID supports long-term programs to tackle the causes of poverty with governments as well as charities, businesses and international bodies including the World Bank, UN agencies and the European Commission. So, again DFID is not working solely with the countries, it is working in association with World Bank, UN agencies and other international organizations. DFID works with the state governments to help the poor in rural villages and urban slums earn an income, access health, education, water and sanitation services. Again, having a reminder to the same thing, it is not only education which they are working for. They are working for earning an income. They are making arrangements or they are providing such kind of training that people are able to earn an income for themselves. They are able to access health, education, water and sanitation services. DFID has also established trust funds with key multilateral partners, the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank and UNICEF. Another one factor of DFID is it also works with international and local NGOs and the private sector such as the Small Industries Development Bank of India. So, it is not working solely, but it is working in association with certain smaller associations within the country also. That is about DFID. Moving to another country effort is Swedish International Development Agency, which is also known as SIDA. SIDA is a government agency of Sweden, as the name clearly says that, and it is providing technical assistance and funding throughout the world. So, here the primary focus is one, technical assistance and funding. So, the key area of working or the key area of how to provide education or how to promote elementary education throughout the world here is different. They are working on two things, one elementary assistance, secondly the funding. Now, SIDA channels its resources through non-government organizations, multilateral cooperation and the European Union among others, and is interested in the field of international development cooperation. So, the key line for SIDA is international development cooperation, and how it is promoted or how it is achieved is by working through non-government organizations, multilateral cooperations and the European Union. There may be others also, but these are the primary three which they work with. SIDA supports 100 countries and 2000 projects. SIDA seeks to create partnerships with companies, popular movements, organizations, universities and government agencies for its development projects. So, they are working with the state governments, they may be working with universities, they may be working with different government agencies to provide technical assistance and certain kind of funding. SIDA's geographical focus is on countries in Africa, Asia, South America and Central and Eastern Europe. India has been a recipient of Swedish bilateral development assistance since 1964. Our popular program Shiksha Karmi project is being implemented in India since 1987. Now, this program is done with the assistance from SIDA. The project aims at universalization and qualitative improvement of primary education in the remote and socio-economically backward villages of Rajasthan with primary focus on girls. So, the focus primarily with the Shiksha Karmi project, as we all know, is girls, and it is a project which is primarily working in the villages of Rajasthan, because they intend to bridge the gender equity gap, gender disequality gap. We have discussed the role of World Bank, we have discussed the role of UNICEF, UNESCO, Swedish International Development Agency and Department for International Development. Now, these are not just the 5 organizations which are working in this direction. There are several other organizations like UNFPA, UNDP, OPEC, Asian Development Bank, USAID, NORAD, NORAD, SIDA, SDC, etc. But all of these aim at the same thing. There may be different ways of working in the same direction. They may be working through technical assistance like the way SIDA is working. There may be World Bank which may be funding the projects. UNICEF may be another organization which is directly involved with the children or which is directly involved with the education of the children. So, the ways may be different, but the ideal objective or the ideal aim for all these organizations is providing elementary education to all or making universalization of elementary education. Now, there are areas where elementary education has been universalized also. Universalized does not mean that it is 100% of universalization, but when it is even 95% of the children in an area are going to school or are seeking education, it is considered as universalization of elementary education. But still, there are several countries where this target is far achieved. One can understand from the different statistics which we have. We know that almost 98% of the illiterate people are living in developing countries. So, the developing countries are the ones which need more focus. We know that 4 out of 5 children who do not go to school, they live in rural regions. So, it is the children who are living in the rural regions, they need to have more attention, they need to have more focus from these international organizations also and from their own country government also, whether it is at the center level, the state level or the local level. There is another glaring fact that 1 in 3 children in Africa that are enrolled in school drop out of the primary education, they belong to socially disadvantaged groups. So, this is another category of children who are not able to complete their education. These are the children who belong to the socially disadvantaged groups. So, these are the ones who need more attention. Then again we know that almost half the girls in the world have no opportunity to attend the primary school. The reason may be different, the reason may be the religion, the reason may be the traditional mindset of the people, the reason may be the social circumstances, but eventually the result is that there are certain sections of the child population which are not able to access or which are not able to get the kind of elementary education they should have. So, the efforts need to be made in this direction so that these children, specifically the disadvantaged children, whether they are girls, whether they are children who are living in the rural areas, whether they are children who are child laborers, whether they are children who are migrant laborers. So, all of these children need specific attention and specific planning needs to be done for them so that they all get education, and not just education, education of good quality. That is the aim of today's discussion. Let's see how different organizations or different international organizations have been working specifically for elementary education in different developing countries. Because these developing countries where the number of children who are getting education is less as compared to other countries. Thank you for the discussion.
घर बैठे पाएं राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालय शिक्षा संस्थान यानी NIOS में एडमिशन, वो भी एकदम आसान तरीके से, जिससे शिक्षार्थियों को होगी समय और धन दोनों की बचत। NIOS से शिक्षा कभी भी कहीं भी। शिक्षार्थियों, क्या आप जानते हैं NIOS में एडमिशन लेने का सरल और सुगम तरीका, जिससे शिक्षार्थियों को ऑनलाइन प्रवेश लेने में सहूलियत मिलती है। NIOS में प्रवेश की प्रक्रिया पूर्णतया ऑनलाइन है। शिक्षार्थी घर बैठे इंटरनेट द्वारा प्रवेश के लिए सबसे पहले NIOS की वेबसाइट www.nios.ac.in पर लॉगिन करें। अपना ईमेल आईडी और पासवर्ड डालकर अपना पंजीकरण करें। पंजीकरण के बाद लॉगिन करने पर ऑनलाइन प्रवेश हेतु आवेदन पत्र खुलेगा। आवेदन पत्र को निर्देशानुसार भरें और प्रिंट आउट लें। इस प्रिंट आउट पर अपनी फोटो संलग्न करें। ऑनलाइन प्रवेश के लिए शुल्क हेतु भुगतान के तरीके हैं: क्रेडिट कार्ड के द्वारा, डेबिट कार्ड के द्वारा, राष्ट्रीयकृत बैंक के ड्राफ्ट के माध्यम से, जो कि सचिव NIOS नई दिल्ली या नोएडा के पक्ष में देय हो। भरे हुए आवेदन पत्र के साथ साथ डिमांड ड्राफ्ट और संलग्न किए जाने वाले दस्तावेज हैं: जन्म रजिस्ट्रार के जिला कार्यालय से जारी जन्म प्रमाण पत्र की सत्यापित प्रति, जिसमें जन्म तिथि अंकित हो, पिछले विद्यालय से प्राप्त विद्यालय छोड़ने का प्रमाण पत्र, जिसमें आवेदक की जन्म तिथि लिखी हो। प्रवेश फॉर्म का प्रिंट आउट NIOS के संबद्ध क्षेत्रीय केंद्रों पर 10 दिनों में पहुंच जाना चाहिए, अन्यथा उचित दस्तावेज न लगे होने पर आवेदन फॉर्म रद्द किया जा सकता है। प्रवेश प्रक्रिया की पुष्टि होने के बाद शिक्षार्थियों को परिचय पत्र व अध्ययन सामग्री डाक द्वारा तुरंत पहुंचाई जाती है। ऑनलाइन प्रवेश एक बहुत ही सुगम और सुविधाजनक प्रवेश प्रणाली है। ऑनलाइन ऑन टाइम फॉर सेफ एंड सिक्योर एडमिशन।
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने, राहों को आलोकित करने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने।
सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो, धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो।
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े, वे विषय की लोच